Hey guys, so I just want to do a little update here on my bearded dragons over here. Talk about them a little bit and kind of explain them as pets, you know, kind of explain how you care for them and a little bit about them, a little bit about like what it's like to own a bearded dragon. So gonna get into that in a second, but I just want to let you guys know, my subscribers out there, I know I've still been a little slow on getting all the videos up. You know, I haven't been having quite as many as I used to. And I still want to get back to that point. I want to get more videos up. But if you're one of my subscribers, you know I've been a little busy last few months. Lots of stuff going on in my life. So give me a little bit of a break on that. Sorry about that, guys, but I'm not quitting. Nowhere near it. I am going full force as soon as I can. And we'll keep all the videos coming. So for now, let's get into these guys. And these guys I've had for, geez, I don't even know. I would have to look at my first video of them, but I'd assume almost 2 years now. Had them for quite a while, at least a year and a half, somewhere around there. And when I first got them, they both fit in the palm of my hand. And really, I'd have to say that out of all the reptiles that I've owned, I'm sure there's reptiles I have not owned yet that I would also say are really cool. But out of all the reptiles I have owned, I would say these are probably my favorite. And there's many reasons, and I'll kind of go through them right now. First off, look at these guys. They're just sitting here. Now, I'm not saying all bearded dragons are going to be just like mine. You know, people often ask me, what's the nicest pet you own? Or what's the nicest type of animal? And really, guys, you got to think about it. There's dogs out there, right? Let's take dogs, for example. There's dogs out there that are super sweet, calm, nice, will never bite, never hurt a human, listen to everything you say. And then there's other dogs out there that'll bite you the first chance they get. So it's really not about the animal type. Although different animal types have kind of different overall characteristics, really each animal is different, and it really depends on who bred them, how they were raised, how much they were handled, and so on and so on. Really, you know, people, animals, any living thing is by and large a product of their environment. Sure, they can have instincts, have their own genetics, have all that stuff, but your environment and how you interact with your environment and how you respond to your environment is kind of how you become. So the same with animals. You breed them, you know, bring them up right since the time they were bred, you handle them a lot, they could turn into really awesome pets. So it's really not about the type of animal. But overall, bearded dragons are pretty great. And mine, I don't know if I got lucky, or I've seen other videos where lots of them are very calm too. Also, I've heard some people say they're, you know, kind of hyper. But these guys are just great. And some of the reasons why these guys are great is they're just really interactive. Out of all my reptiles, they're one of the few that are not nocturnal. Leopard geckos, crested geckos, most of my snakes, you know, lots of reptiles are nocturnal. And when you got a nocturnal animal, they're going to be sleeping a lot during the day. And, you know, that's okay. I don't mind it. I like owning all different types of pets, and, you know, I'll go in there at night sometimes and I'll feed the leopard geckos at night and stuff, so that's fine. But what I'm saying is these guys are really kind of interactive. They're very visual. They will look at things. I mean, they won't just sit there like a leopard gecko and sleep in their cage all day. They'll be looking if you come in the room. They'll be watching you. They'll be excited when they hear and see crickets, you know, and when you feed them anything else. And that's another thing. Some people might like this, some people might not, but they eat a whole variety of food. And, you know, you guys know that I feed, you know, pinky mice, all types of insects. Like, I've fed them cockroaches and slugs and snails and, you know, all types of things. So it's kind of, you know, I guess it's kind of sick in a way, but it's kind of cool that they eat all types of things. So, I mean, if you got some buddies over and your buddies are kind of like, oh, let's throw in a mouse, well, you can do that, you know. So that's one cool thing about them for some people. But really what I like about them is just how calm they are and how interactive they are. I mean, these guys will sit on my shoulder here. I could watch TV and they wouldn't move. I mean, they might crawl around me a little bit, but they like the warmth. They like their log over here because this is what's in their cage. I just pick it up out of their cage. So they're used to it. They'll sit on that log for hours out in this room without even moving. I mean, they'll move around the log, but they're not going to run away. So, I mean, it's pretty rare for a reptile to sit with you. Take out any of my snakes, take out my leopard geckos, crested geckos, giant day geckos. You know, they'll stay in your hand if you're kind of making them. You know, if they walk away, you keep getting them in your hand and so on and so forth. But with these guys, they just stay here. They're just cool, just like chilling on my shoulder doing nothing. So that's really cool about them. Now, care, if you guys want a reptile, I do suggest, if you've never owned one before, to start with something like a leopard gecko. Lots of people do suggest that, but actually in some ways that's not necessarily the best idea. I think you should pick a pet that you want to own. If you want a pet that is going to be more interactive and stuff, and you really like bearded dragons, you might want to start with a bearded dragon, because leopard geckos can live a long time. I think I'd have to look it up because I got so many different animals in my head. I kind of mix them up sometimes, but I'm sure leopard geckos can live like 15 plus years, maybe a good amount longer than that. So I mean, either way, if you get a reptile, it's not like if you get a leopard gecko, it's like a hamster. It's like a 2-year thing. It's like a learning process. No, they can live a long time. So you're going to be putting a lot of effort and a lot of time into it. So you're going to want to get a pet that you're going to want to own for a long time. Bearded dragons as well. They live 15 to 20 years. So I mean, you're going to want to pick an animal that you'll be happy with. Animals really aren't that hard to care for. I also get asked all the time, which animal is easiest to care for that you own? Really? They're all pretty much the same easiness to me, at least. The only thing is you got to know how to care for them. It's like basically time and money is the difference. The easiest to care for, how I would think about it, is which is the cheapest. That would be a better question, I think, because I mean, if you want to look at what's hard to care for, look at my dog Jack. He's my hardest pet to care for. I've got to take him outside multiple times a day, go for walks, make sure he's got food and water. Like, of course I got to do that with my other animals, but it's more on a time schedule with my dog. And you got to do a lot more interaction with dogs. So if you're looking like for what's an easy pet, pretty much all reptiles are pretty darn easy. You could get away with spending 10 minutes a day at most cleaning and feeding these guys. It really doesn't take long. And then you should take them out, like I do here, at least once a week for half an hour, even more if you want. And that'll keep them calm, make them used to you, and they'll be just like this hopefully. But for bearded dragons, like I said, with any pet, you want to research a lot first. And they're really not hard though. For bearded dragons, all you need is a tank. I made a video before, and I think I said you need like a 30-gallon for a single dragon and maybe a 40 or larger for 2 dragons. I'd really up that higher. I'd say you'd probably want a 40-gallon breeder for a single dragon, something like a 75-gallon for 2 dragons once they're adults. And it'll give them plenty of space. Really all you need in the cage is a water dish, although that's not needed all the time. I really don't always have water in their tank. I put a water dish in there like once a week because they get lots of their moisture from eating the food that they eat, including the vegetables and the fruits, and even the crickets have a lot of moisture in them. But you should give them water from time to time. And then you just need a food dish if you're going to feed something like pellet food, or where you put your fruits and vegetables. And your crickets and mealworms can go in there too. Of course, the crickets will jump out, and the mealworms, if you get a bowl that they can't get out of, that's good. And that's all you need inside the cage, other than a log or a rock, something for them to sit on. So inside the cage, you need a food dish and a rock or a log. That's it. And of course, you need some type of substrate. I would recommend reptile carpet. That's what I use. You could use a couple other things too, but reptile carpets worked great for these guys. I really suggest that. And then outside the cage, all these guys need is, you really don't need 2 lights. 1 light you can get away with, and you need like a UVB light, but if you're going to go with 1 light, you need a UVB light that also gives off heat. Those compact fluorescent ones, those are no good. They don't give off any heat. They need a hot spot, I think around 95 degrees. So a compact fluorescent one wouldn't work. You want one of those, I think they're mercury halide bulbs. They give off UVB and heat, and that'll give them the heat during the daytime. During the nighttime, it's fine if their cage drops to room temperature. Some people, like myself, I also put a second light on their cage, which is just a low wattage, I think it's 50 or 75 watt infrared heat bulb. And I leave that on all the time. And that just keeps their cage at night, instead of my house, which is 73 degrees, let's say, keeps their cage more around 78. So it's not warm or super hot for them in there, but it's not cold for them either. So I do that. I put 2 different lights on. The red infrared light I have on all the time, 24/7. And then the UVB sunlight I have on just for about 12 hours during the day, sometimes a little less. You can set up your schedule, but I usually put it on for about 10 to 12 hours a day. And I set all those up on timers, so it's really simple and easy to care for. I recommend if you have any pets, put them on a timer. It becomes a pain to wake up in the morning and then flip on the light. If you forget it one morning, when you go to work, you go to school, then you leave the light off all day. It's not going to kill them, but it becomes a pain. It becomes more work, more effort. Go to the store, buy a cheap timer, and you're good to go. All you got to remember to do is feed them every once in a while. These guys, when they're young, they'll eat, like, we're talking like, I mean, these guys are a lot longer. Let me see if I can get his length here. It's probably, no, these guys are pretty big. Let's say when they're young, this big or so, and smaller, they're going to eat almost all insects. You don't need to give them any fruits or vegetables. As these guys get older and older and older, their diet's going to switch from insects to fruit and insects, like vegetables mainly, then vegetables mainly, some fruit and insects. And as they get older and older and older, you're going to shift more towards vegetables and fruits and less towards insects. These guys are basically adults now. I've had them 2 years. They're still going to grow bigger. Hopefully the female will get bigger over here. This is the male. And right now what I do is I feed them vegetables and fruits every other day. So most people will tell you to feed them every day, and you can do that. It's just I do it every other day. And then let's say I feed Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, something like that, vegetables and fruits. I'll do crickets on Tuesday, Thursday. About twice a week I'll still feed them insects. They still enjoy insects, they still need the protein, but when they're adults they don't need it as much. So, pretty simple to care for. As long as you got a proper UVB light, you don't have to worry much about D3. Calcium, you should actually buy it as calcium alone. If you give them calcium with D3 and you have a really good UVB light, you can actually end up giving them too much D3. Their D3 and stuff is basically what they get from the UVB light. And it can overgrow their bones and it can actually kill them. So you're going to want to not give them calcium with D3 every time, but dust your crickets. I dust their crickets twice a week with calcium, and then every once in a while I'll sprinkle a little bit on their vegetables and fruits, but not too often. About twice a week is just fine. It's been doing good for them. They seem happy, healthy, and they've been doing great the whole time I've owned them. So, again, they're great pets. They are the most interactive reptile that I've owned to date, and they're just pretty cool. Well, at least my guys are pretty calm, and I'm sure you can find ones that are similar. I actually got mine from LLL Reptile. It's an online site you can order from. Some people say they hate ordering online. Some people like it. Some people say this site's bad, this site's good. Order from wherever you want, but I would definitely say it probably is best with any pet to see them and hold them in person first. You don't know how many times I've gotten comments saying, "Oh, I just brought this hedgehog home today, just today, and I can't hold it." And I think to myself, okay, did you hold it in the store before you bought it? Or did you just say, "Oh, I want that one," and then they put it in a box and you brought it home? I mean, you got to think about these things. If you're going to buy a pet where you can touch it and hold it first, touch it and hold it first. Make sure it's nice, Don't buy a pet if it's mean. Hedgehogs especially, I've found that if they're mean, they're hard to get back to nice. It is hard. You can do it. It takes time and effort, but you can do it. But I find most people give up. You can do it. But if you got a hedgehog that's nice from a baby and you keep them nice, they stay nice, then they're great pets. So really with any pet, birds, little mammals, little marsupials like the sugar gliders and STOs, reptiles, anything. If you can't find them locally, sometimes, like I said, I'll order online, but if you can find them locally, hold them, touch them, see how they interact in the store. Hopefully, when they get home, they'll act the same. But I'm just amazed sometimes when people say that, "I just got this pet today and I can't hold it, what do I do?" I'm just like, why'd you buy it? Don't buy a pet unless, it's a good pet. Basically what you're doing when you buy those types of pets is you're enabling that person that bred these bad pets to keep breeding them, They bred this pet that's mean, they sold it, so they're like, "Oh, well, I can sell more," Whereas then you got people like me that when I breed, I make sure that I hold them daily for a long time, and they come out great, they come out nice. Almost all my pets are perfect. So, I mean, you gotta, I guess, be smart about the pets you buy. Don't feel bad for pets that are mean and think that you can change them. Go for a good pet from the beginning, and then you'll have a good time with your pet. I'm getting a phone call now. I'm going to mute it, but I'm going to go anyways. This is about the end of what I wanted to say. like I said, these guys are just great. They're interactive, they watch what you do when you come in the room, they're awake during the day. They're just really good pets. So if you're looking into getting a reptile, remember, research first, decide what you want, because you're going to have to live with it for a long time. Turtles can live like 30 years, most of them, you know. Decide what you want, make sure you want to do it, research a lot, set up the tank, and then get your guys. So, yeah, a little update on the bearded dragons and a little bit of talk about owning pets. So, hopefully you guys got some information. Give me some comments, some feedback. Let's get a discussion going, and we'll see you later.